Battlestar Galactica. Finally went back and finished the series. And this is another example of something that's more or less universally loved that I hated when it first came out. I don't know why I disliked it so much. Now that I've gone back through the whole thing, all 4 seasons, I don't dislike it anymore. I can't even tell you why I hated it so much back then. I remember ranting about it, talking about it to people and all these things that I didn't like. I can't remember what they were now. Don't get me wrong, I don't love this series, and it has some serious fucking problems. It takes some really stupid leaps of logic to follow the storyline at all, especially in season 4. It just kind of goes off the fucking rails completely and makes no goddamn sense at all, which pisses me off, right? Fundamentally, I want at least a halfway legitimate explanation to wrap things up at the end. It was terrible. The ending was stupid. It was just stupid. But the characters were really good. I fucking loved Starbuck. Admiral Armada, he was great. Lee was great. Hilo and Sharon. Hilo and Sharon's little relationship thing started off pretty fucking boring, but they became more interesting characters later on when Sharon, she has to prove her loyalty, and Hilo, he becomes this like character that's constantly on the outside because he's married to a cylon. And, shit, I should probably say spoilers, shouldn't I? Sorry about that. Spoilers. There's gonna be spoilers. Fuck. Should I go back? I don't give a shit. Whatever. Fucking spoilers. So yeah, Sharon, she's a cylon. It's actually one of the bigger reveals in season 1 that she's a cylon. But, and actually one of the better reveals, and probably the only good cylon reveal in the entire series now that I think about it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were there any other big reveals? It was just Sharon. They kind of play it up a lot, that, Cylons are among us, and hidden threat, and they could be anyone, and all this shit, like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or The Thing, or whatever, or people are supposed to turn against each other, and they play it up a lot in the intro to the show, and, during the story and all this, but really, it's just Sharon. She's the only really big Cylon reveal. I mean, all the other ones, like, 6 you already knew she was a Cylon. Right? The big villain at the end, the guy from Quantum Leap, fucking love Quantum Leap, by the way. You knew he was a Cylon, because I think he walks off a ship or something and immediately tells you he's a Cylon. The doctor guy, who you see in maybe 2 episodes or something, it's kind of questionable if he's a Cylon or not, but it turns out he is pretty damn quickly, and if you didn't figure that out, you're pretty fucking slow. Even Starbuck knew it. She knew something was up the whole time. The creepy-ass one that wanted to, molest Starbuck and make her love him and have this love child with her or whatever the fuck. That guy was he was a Cylon from the start. You knew it. Who else is there? Xena Warrior Princess. She had a really good episode where she does this documentary on the Battlestar, and she's gonna paint them as these evil, bloodthirsty type people that can't be trusted, and she kind of comes around as the story comes to a conclusion, and she realizes that, they're doing a dirty job and someone has to do it and they deserve our respect and all this stuff. Really good episode, and she's really good in it. But right after she kind of wins over Admiral Adama and the President and Lee and all them, she immediately tells them that she's a Cylon, if I remember right. I think it's in the next episode. She just comes out and tells them she's a Cylon. So there really are no big Cylon reveals. Do they even exist other than Sharon? I don't think they do. The final 5, it's kind of a big reveal that they're Cylons, but they don't really do anything with it. It's not like they, sabotage the place or murder people or, cripple the fleet or do any espionage or, they don't really do anything. They just kind of bitch about being Cylons and then they go back to who they were. So, I mean, did it really matter? Not really, to be honest. That one, the one chick, the president's assistant or whatever, kills the chief's wife. What was her name? Callie. She kills Callie. And in that moment, I'm thinking, okay, so this is kind of cool. She's just going to go around murdering people or whatever and be evil, right? Nope. She just kills Callie and then goes back to being whoever she was before. That one brief moment of, Cylons being Cylons, and then they just immediately go back to who they were. So, really, the big thing that made the series special in the first place, they don't really milk it much. Just Sharon in the first season. That's really it. I mean, the Cylons themselves are just kind of a generic enemy throughout the whole series until like season 4, where they try to go into like metaphysics of who they fucking are and like who they should be, and like the relationships between them and the humans and how it's going to conclude and all that shit. For the rest of the series, they're just bad guys. That's really all they are. The new Caprica season, I think it was most of season 2, loved it. Really, really good. You got to see what happened to the Battlestar when it wasn't needed anymore, which was really cool. And on New Caprica, the Resistance and all those side characters that usually don't get a lot of screen time, they all get to shine on New Caprica because Lee was gone, Odama was gone, the President was gone, the Battlestar was gone. Like, most of the main characters were gone, so all the supporting characters got to shine there, and it was really cool. What's his name? I can't remember his name right now. The second in command, he got to lead the Resistance, and he became this, like, really gritty, badass character that'll do anything to get things done. He's literally sending his own people in as suicide bombers at the end there to take out the Cylons. That's how desperate he is. But all of New Caprica was really good. Most of season 1 was pretty hit or miss, but it had really good moments. When Starbuck is lost and you don't know if she's coming back, and she ends up piloting a raider out of the atmosphere, like a true fucking badass hero and all that stuff, that was really good. I don't know if you'd call it a civil war, but when the real admiral shows up, I think he's still the general or whatever at this point, or commander. He's the commander, Commander Odama. The admiral shows up with the Pegasus, and he's like, she's the admiral, she's in charge, I have to do what she says. And he, like, a couple episodes later, he immediately betrays her and like takes back command, and they're at war, and like, what's gonna happen? And like that was a great couple episodes. The Mutiny, and I think it was season 4, was really good, where Gaeta takes over the Battlestar. Him and Zarek. Gaeta wants to be commander of the Battlestar, and Zarek wants to be president. That was a great episode. I wish it lasted longer. That could have been a whole season where they're on the run and they're the rebels. They're the outsiders in the fleet. They got to try and get power back and like make alliances and all that. That could have been fucking amazing. But as it was a really good couple episodes. And they get what they deserve at the end. Everyone in this series, for the most part, gets what they fucking deserve. Right? Like, if they're evil bastards, for the most part, they get dead. I mean, like, the Gaeta and Zarek are perfect examples. They execute their asses immediately. There's no wishy-washy bullshit. Like, you start a mutiny, you take over the fleet, you get a bunch of people killed, we're gonna execute you. Outright. Period. When the chief finds out that, what's-her-name killed Callie, he literally strangles her to death on the fucking spot. Right? Like, when they come back from New Caprica, and there's all these traitors that they were on New Caprica. They were part of like this, like colonist police force or whatever, and like they hunt them down and they try them and they murder their asses straight up. They almost kill Gaeta until they find out that he was the informant, which he gets no respect for later on in the series. By the way, he fed them all their information to keep them alive and keep the resistance going and all that shit on New Caprica, and then they all ditch his ass in season 4 when he wants to take over the Battlestar. By that point, he's kind of become a dickbag anyway, so. But almost all the characters were great. All the storylines were good, for the most part, up until season 4. Season 4 was just stupid. It was just dumb. It's a classic case of a sci-fi series getting to the end and not knowing what to do. It happens all the goddamn time. Very rarely do they nail the ending. I mean, they usually nail the opening, and they have really cool characters and really cool plot lines, and then they get to the end and they screw the pooch really hard. This one's no different. They've got this MacGuffin character, Sharon and Hilo's child, Hera, who is basically just... She's simultaneously like the savior of the Cylon race just because, and she's gonna show them how to find Earth just because, and she like leads them to the fucking promised land at the end and has all these like magical powers with like she can like see notes in her head and that somehow leads them to Earth or whatever just because God loves her, I guess. I don't fucking know. The laziest ass way to wrap up the biggest questions in the series possible. Basically. That's what it comes down to. There's just like, there's this magical MacGuffin kid and she's all the answers to everything. And then all the other answers come from the final 5. probably the only reason the Final Five even existed, as far as the plot goes, is to give all these like, history lessons. This is why the war started, and this is how reincarnation was, invented, and this is why all these characters are doing these things and stuff. Like, all they are is backstory. That's all. That's the only reason they were even the Final Five, right? Because the Final Five lived for basically forever, and they knew everything once they got their memories back, so they can just explain the whole plot away, basically. Season 4 was just half-assed as all hell. And then the last episode was just dumb. It was just dumb. There's this one segment in the middle of the final episode where I just couldn't stop laughing, where they needed to wrap up all the relationships throughout the series, right? Like Odama and Starbuck and Lee, Hilo and Sharon. All the different character relationships, they had to do something at the end for closure, right? They do it in the most ridiculously lazy way possible in that final episode. It's like abrupt cut to each of these different characters talking about their feelings and, wrapping things up, but there's nothing in between. There's no segue of any kind. It's literally just abrupt cuts in between each scene, and it looks fucking hilariously stupid. Like, Odama and Starbuck have their moment, and it's heartwarming, and, she's still his daughter and all this stuff. Abrupt as fuck cut to, like, Lee and Starbuck, and they have their moment, and they still have a relationship, and, like, they still love each other and all that, and they wrap up. Abrupt ass fucking cut. Hilo and Sharon, like, it is the most lazy, half-assed way to do those scenes possible. Am I the only one that noticed that? And then, the way they explain away what happened to Starbuck's character, apparently she's an angel, I guess. That's, I think, what happened. She wasn't actually human in the end. Maybe she was human for some of the series, but for some of season 4, after she died, she came back as like an angel, I guess. And that's why she just disappeared in a fucking field at the end. A big ass open field, nowhere for her to go, right? He looks away for a half a second, looks back, and she just vanishes into thin air. And what's even more weird than that is she's just fine with it. He just rolls with it. Like, Lee has been obsessed with her for the entire series from pretty much the very beginning. Loves her and wants to be with her and all this stuff, and it never quite happens. And then in the end, when they finally have a chance to be together, because they finally come to terms with the relationship, and her husband's gone at this point. He flew into the fucking sun with the rest of the fleet, which is dumb as fuck, by the way. Okay, what if the rest of the Cylons come back? The evil Cylons, right? They just get rid of all of their defenses by flying the entire fucking fleet into the sun, literally. They put it on autopilot with, what's his name? Her husband, I forgot what his name is right now. They put him in control of the entire fleet and just fly into the sun and destroy it all. Why? You're telling me that everyone is just going to give up all of that technology in an instant to go live like fucking cavemen on this planet that they have never been to before and have no idea if they can even survive on. Right? Like, for all they know, the fucking planet is prone to earthquakes and it's going to, crack in half the next day and fucking implode or something. They have no fucking idea, right? Their only backup plan, they fly into the fucking sun on a whim. Stupid as hell. But anyways, so he's just fine with it. He's just fine with her disappearing into thin air. The woman that he's been obsessed with from the very beginning of the series just vanishes before his eyes. And he's like, okay, alright, no problem. No reaction, no emotion, no nothing. Ugh. I hated the last episode. It was dumb. Did it ruin the series? No. I liked the series overall. When it was good, it was really, really good. Like, all the little mini plot lines, mini series within the show, like that I mentioned earlier, they were all really, really good. For the most part, the series itself was really good. There were bad episodes here and there that were just drug on too long and focused on characters that were really boring in the first place, but for the most part, it was good. Oh yeah, the whole, I didn't even talk about, like, the real ending or whatever, where it turns out that Hera is the progenitor of the entire human race, which makes us all half Cylon or whatever. Who fucking cares? I mean, like, did that really matter at all to anything? I mean, it really didn't matter. So I really didn't care. I couldn't care less. Her character was stupid in the first place, so whatever. What's his name? I can't remember his name right now for some reason. He starts out the vice president. Actually, he starts out the traitor, and then he becomes the vice president, and then he becomes the president on New Caprica and fucks it all up, and then he becomes like a cult leader, and why can't I remember his name? Ah, whatever. He was effective. He was probably the most effective villain in the entire series, to be honest. Even though it wasn't always technically the villain, but regardless, when he was the villain, he was the one I loved to hate. The Cylons, I think they were just too generic, too emotionless, to hate, to truly be against. Plus, they try to make them really wishy-washy throughout the series. Like, sometimes they're trying to help the humans, and some of them are good, they're not all evil, and some of them don't know what they should be doing at any given moment. Like, sometimes they're all about killing humans, and sometimes they want to be friends and hold hands, and they're really, like, it's hard to hate them at any given point throughout the series, except for maybe season 1. But, I cannot remember his name. I don't know why. They say his name a billion times throughout the series. He is one of the main characters, unequivocally. He's in damn near every episode, and I can't remember his name. For some reason. Baltar! Gaius Baltar. There we go. Sorry, finally remembered it. But yeah, he was a really good character. He was the good villain throughout the series. Not good as in, like, ethical, but good as in entertaining. I don't think he got any credit either. His whole thing with Six, most of the comedy relief came from that, when they were arguing inside his own head or whatever, which is really cool. He's just a good character. He kind of fell off later in the series, but then everything did in season 4 when it just started getting stupid. I realize it's a sci-fi show, but still, I mean, even within the contrivances that you've created, you still need some kind of halfway legitimate ending that explains some of what's going on in a less than ridiculously stupid way, right? Like, I hated the ending. But yeah, Battlestar Galactica, finally went back and watched it. Yeah, overall I liked it. That's really, at the end of the day, that's it.